Okay, it's like, welcome to Here's the Thing, also known as Linux EP39. Unfortunately, Jordan is not with us tonight. He has a very good excuse. He's taking care of something that should be a much higher priority than the show, and it is. And we wish him luck with that, and hopefully that situation goes very well for him. And hopefully it allows him to get to sleep at a reasonable time as opposed to staying up to 3 a.m. because that's usually, unfortunately, the way that situation tends to work out in my general experience. Okay, do we want to start on the serious stuff, or do we want to start on the comments we've been talking about?
Let's just get that out of the way, because we're probably might be referencing that for the rest of the show. So.
Okay. Yeah, we've been having a conversation. I don't know where to start. You know, we might as well start with the beginning. Somebody has come in here who we're not even going to do... I actually invited them to... because they were on, like, making this comment. I sent them a PM. I said, you have a lot to say. We're going to be doing a show in a little bit. Skype in. I don't going to do that. They may not have got the message because I sent it like 5 minutes. I sent it like 5 minutes after I realized they were still posting comments. So they were clearly online right now on YouTube, actually doing stuff. So I'm like, I'm going to send them a YouTube PM and say, call in, you know, say it to our face, you know, whatever. Apparently they're not going to. So it's like, here's your...
$500 phone.
Yeah, because we were going to use Tiny's phone because it's better than mine for the sound quality for a Skype call. What does he say? Apparently, what his first thing is, I'm a neckbeard. Well, we all know that, and I'm okay with that. It's like, and I don't care if y'all call me neckbeard, yada 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 yada. What is it they go into? Yes, apparently I was wrong about the Windows multi-user, and y'all just didn't call me on it. So apparently...
What was the Windows multi-user?
I was saying, we were going over the 5 reasons, you know, why Linux is a potentially a good option for a desktop OS. You know, we're trying to come up with 5 reasons, and one of the reasons I brought up is, well, you know, Linux is a true multi-user OS, unlike Windows. I was bringing it up in reference to some customizability things and other things, which you could largely do in Windows, but not some. But we were talking about the true multi-user thing, and when I started talking about it in customizability sense, not only did I get called on it, but they said, well, can't you do that with the user settings in Windows and stuff? So apparently they not only called me on it, but it's not, and we went off on the multi-user thing, which is what I was really talking about there.
Well, as I understand it, Vista was made new, you know, to be a true multi-user system. Before that, Windows wasn't truly multi-user.
And it's still not quite there with Vista. Nothing would please me more than for Windows to become a true multi-user system, because it's really behind in that regard, and I love true competition. There were some rumors, and these are pretty substantiated rumors, that one of the alpha tests of Windows 7 had a Unix-like core underneath that would have been a true multi-user system, unlike a still somewhat pseudo multi-user system that Windows 7 is, but they chose not to go with that. I think it just wasn't fully cooked yet.
I've had actually a few conversations with friends about this, about, you know, what would it be like if Windows would just go with a Unix-based OS like everyone else has. And one of the things I was talking about with is that it might be too late and too dangerous for Windows to do that. You know, if they went at the start and then they gained market share, they would be in a much better position. But since now, you know, if they did create and based it off a new Unix-like base.
Yeah, this wasn't Unix, it was Unix-like, based on what I've heard, and I trust the people whove told me this.
And I am saying Unix-like, but if they did base it off a Unix-like base, then as I understand it, that would mean that operating system would be more or less incompatible with previous versions of Windows.
Yes. As a matter of fact, the only way that OS with a complete core change like that would have any way, shape, or form to be compatible with anything past Windows would be for Microsoft to create a Wine-like layer that actually fully emulates Windows in all the ways Wine can't for legal reasons. And if Microsoft did that, I guarantee it would paint the framework for Wine, Crossover, and other projects like this to go, here are the missing holes. Let's figure out a way to legally recreate them. And then...
Which I'm sure they're afraid of. They don't want to, they might like basing it off, true multi-user and have a lot of the benefits of all that, but they give up a chance to just, from what they're holding, they have a huge bevy of software that's just made for Windows. And if they change to a Unix-like OS, it would be really easy to port from Mac and Linux. If you make a program for Mac, I know that a lot of those are available for Linux because it's not that hard to port. But I know that it's hard to port from Windows to Linux because of a lot of the differences in the system. If they did make it Unix-like, it would create a bigger competition because people can make programs for all OSs with greater ease, less cost.
Well, and that would be a win-win for the end user, and Windows would become would become so much better than it actually is. Again, a win-win for the end user. But like you're saying, it breaks backwards compatibility in a way that Microsoft probably would. However, I really do, based on all the rumors, I think Microsoft is seriously considering doing it. Whether or not they actually will, for all the reasons you just named, is anything else altogether. But yeah. What was the other thing they said? Oh yeah, the very next thing they said. They went on for a while. We should know. We have, like, say, how many comments? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then a comment on another thread. It's all of which they filled the character cap all of a sudden. Then they go on to say, this is the point at which I became convinced they were a troll, and this actually is what got them in here. Linux is not a desktop operating system. It is a hobbyist OS. Radio Shack OS.
If you will.
If you will. No drivers. Fucked up sound. Now, they go on inside. Apparently they were using Ubuntu. Because they do say here in the next comment that, they were talking about Ubuntu. Because Ubuntu didn't have the drivers for their sound thing. And so on. This is one of the reasons, and I know I'm going to piss a lot of people off, but this is one of the reasons I keep getting mad at Ubuntu. Because more often than not, you send Ubuntu in, and Ubuntu chose not to include something. And it doesn't mean Linux can't do it. It means Ubuntu doesn't do it out of the box. There are plenty of distros that do it out of the box. You stick the disk in, it just works, damn it. It's one of the reasons...
Yeah, which of course is one of the reasons you use PC Linux.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of not having to go, oh damn it, I gotta go get my sound card driver. Oh damn it, I gotta go get my Wi-Fi driver. Yeah, I'm a big fan of just, no, stick it in, it just finds it just works. It just, I don't have to go track it down. Because they are 100% right in that. What is this 10 years ago? Do I have to go track down drivers? Yeah, it's like, again, this is Ubuntu. This is not Linux. The two are not necessarily one and the same.
There is actually some blog post about a guy comparing how much hardware works, and it did turn out that PC Linux OS did support, it did out of the box just work with the most randomly plugged hardware. And Ubuntu actually didn't do terribly well. So there is a big difference between distros.
It's like, and it's honestly what the distro's philosophy is at. There are some things that Ubuntu includes that PC Linux does not include out of the box, because PC Linux is a slice CD and Ubuntu is a DVD. But
no.
There is a live CD Ubuntu, but there's a DVD version of Ubuntu. There is no official DVD version of PC Linux. It doesn't exist. But there is a DVD version of Ubuntu.
There is, yeah, but the version that you download when you just, click ubuntu.com and just download is the CD version.
Yeah.
And you actually, I mean, I've tried to get the DVD version and you can get it, but you actually have to click a few things. Go to download Ubuntu. I'm right here right now. Download Ubuntu. So it starts out with, start downloader, but you have to actually go. It has an option, alternate downloads, and then you could go down and there's the DVD version.
Well, and we should point out that in both these distros, you can get everything that's in the larger thing by just going to the repo and installing the packs. It's not like it's hard to get the stuff. But this is something that, and this is this goes back to my rub with Ubuntu in general. When I go to Ubuntu, it's not like it's hard to get any of these what I consider key fundamental missing packs. And because I've been using Linux for years, I go, oh, I need this pack. I know that because I'm a vetted Linux user. The average end user isn't going to have a clue.
I think what you might be talking about as far as the default DVD version, because I know that, I mean, it says, I'm reading right here, the standard for Ubuntu is the CD. Mint standard is DVD. So they, by default, download the DVD version.
Yeah, you're right. I'm getting something. When Mint's technically forking so far off Ubuntu, it's not even. It may not even be Ubuntu based in the near future. Yeah. We don't actually know how that's going to work out yet. But
okay. So what do we have next? I think that was a pretty good convo out of that comment.
Yeah, then he goes, well, I kind of combined these two here because he started talking about the not an OS and then he said it was Ubuntu later, complaining about the drivers. Apparently, KDE is buggy as hell and GNOME looks like ass. I apologize. Yeah. It's like, I don't know where to start there. And before they even fixed those two DEs, desktop environments, they want to experiment with Unity. This is why Linux is 1% of the market. And then he goes on about rose-colored glasses and other stuff. And, oh yeah, even the steaming pile of Vista didn't win people over. I'm not even trolling. I'm serious. Okay, so he's not trolling. He's serious. You just went and found a bunch of statistics. Care to share them?
And, I'll look something up, but I have a comment for later, but let's move on.
Okay. Yeah, it's like, I mean, where do you want to start? The 1%, the market share? So, I mean, Linux is more than 1%. That's been, even the unofficial metrics that have rated at 1% rated around 3% now. And more than 8% of new systems sold in 09 were Linux. It's not like it's...
And as far as the KDE and Ubuntu looking bad, I mean...
Oh, no, he didn't say KDE looked bad. He said KDE was buggy.
There's other ways that they look. They don't have to look one way. You can make GNOME look exactly like Windows 7 or exactly like Mac. So if you like the other UIs, you could also... I'm sure that you would like GNOME because they could look exactly like those UIs as well.
Uh-huh. Well, no, and the other thing is, I mean, one of the reasons I love KDE is it's just so themable, and GNOME, like you're saying, is just as themable. It's that degree of control. But yeah, if you want, it can look exactly like. I don't want it to look exactly like, but yeah, you could if you want.
Right, but yeah, it's true that you could, Okay, what's next?
Oh, apparently he wants to challenge the people who watch the videos regularly. And apparently he's saying it's hard for them because I'm so goddamn rude. I'm assuming he's talking about me. That's because it is supposedly my channel, although I'm not really sure that's true anymore. Because I don't do videos if other people don't show up at times. Apparently they want people to watch the total amount of videos and figure out what percentage of the time I'm talking and what percentage of the time the co-hosts are talking. I think that honestly varies from show to show, just depending on the topic. Like when we did PC v Mac yesterday, which just got published, I was almost entirely talking the whole time in part one about the Duke Nukem Forever. Leo commented in like once or twice just to add to it. You didn't really give a shit. You're like, let's wait until he gets something I care about.
That's what I indeed said. I didn't know what happened.
Yeah, it's like, and apparently, what is it there? I don't know if they said it in this part or the next one. Yeah, it's like in the next part, Fail OS. They're shocked that y'all keep coming back. So I'm like, it's like, okay, I don't. In case y'all are wondering, I don't make them come. As a matter of fact, when we do the show, is largely dictated by their schedules because mine's pretty flexible. It's like, at one point here they said. Where are we? I say they go fail. Windows won the desktop. It will win the server in a couple of years too.
Yeah.
You found plenty of things on this.
So I don't know where he's getting his statistics from. One thing that I did find...
Oh, before you get into this, I should point out the one other thing. Oh, here I am. I'm interrupting you. How dare I? It's like, apparently the competitional lead that Linux has over Windows is down to 3%. And apparently it's, he like questions the stupidity, the sound, everything else. Anyways, it's like, you found plenty of statistics on this crap.
The only thing I could see that he may be referencing that Windows is going to win the server is that some statistics do show, and the only thing I could find was with Unix, but maybe they mean Linux too in that article. I don't know, they didn't say, but that it's apparently selling more than Unix, which could be true because most of the time you don't actually buy the operating system, you purchase support, so I don't know if they're really counting that. So that's probably... I'm not going to say probably, but that might be what he's referencing. And that does not mean, that they're going to win. It just means that they might be selling more. A lot of people, Linux, you could get a free Linux server, and a lot of companies, spend money hiring sysadmins that can, configure their own servers so they could just use a free operating system and use their own servers for that.
Oh, and then you have all that money to spend on the hardware and
exactly.
And like you're saying, and I fully believe that as far as paid OSs go, Windows is outselling Unix because the reality is BSD has really become as developed as Linux, and if you don't want Linux, if you truly want a Unix server, it makes sense to go with BSD these days. And there are times where you want Unix over Linux. And I really think come 2020, the share that Linux has right now will be divided up between Linux and BSD, depending on which is best for the type of server it is.
Another thing I found, so I did look at some statistics that would show, the actual changes in market share of what people are using. And I'm looking at Netcraft for my data. You could put this in...
Actually, just paste the URL right here under the comments somewhere. So.
Okay. Well, I thought I could put Skype and you could just do that. Anyway, but...
okay, paste it in Skype.
This is from responses. This Netcraft tracks, operating systems and statistics on a bunch of different domains that they get that data from. And from about the database of 273 million and 301,000 and blah 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 sites.
So basically one server or site per person in the US, give or take.
A huge amount of sites, right. The top one by far is Apache with about 60%. It's at 59.35. Microsoft is at 22.22. But if you actually look at the rate of changes, Apache, as he said, has been going down at about 0.23. However, the thing that's been rising the most is something called NGINX, which is another different alternative.
The various Apache alternatives.
Which is also a BSD and Linux server. Microsoft, if you actually look at the rate of change, is actually 1.22%, which is bigger than Apache. So, so it's Microsoft IIS server itself seems to be losing market share faster than Apache's losing it, and the biggest gain is just an alternative server for BSD and Linux.
Oh, and there's been this big push in the open source community as of late that, we shouldn't be enslaved to Apache only, and there's the Apache alternatives who are like, we're actually better and more stable than Apache. We don't have these Apache exploits. And they are gaining traction because they address some issues. In some cases, they're better to use than Apache. It just depends on what you're doing. But the one thing that the industry almost universally agrees as a whole is, what do you mean I have to use IIS? No! And there are times you have to. There's just certain things that really only run right on a Windows server. Strangely enough, all of them, with the exception of one, is made by Microsoft. I wonder why. It's like,
but as far as the other thing, and this will be quick, that if you want to look at what servers top companies are using, about 8 of the top 10 companies are using Linux servers, and one of the top 10, which is Yahoo, internet sites, is using BSD. Right. And the one that might be using IIS is Windows Live.
Right.
Which is number 5 on the list.
And we say might.
So.
Now we should point out 2 other facts. Hotmail is Linux. The Microsoft email is Linux. Not Microsoft, Linux. And what you were saying, MSN, which...
Yes, there's some of these things that will show as Linux, and what it is a lot of sites, Linux sites and Windows sites, they use something called Akamai networks, which is basically a backup server, so that if your server goes down, your website won't go down, all your stuff won't go down. It allows you to not lose everything, and these do all run on Linux. So that is the failsafe for a lot of servers, IIS and Linux alike.
Well, that's what I'm just laughing at. So all these, including Microsoft sites like MSN, their backup for when Windows crashes is Linux. Yeah, they just have so much faith in their product. Like, why isn't there backup for Windows crashing another Windows if they just think Windows is so great? I'm just...